Hey guys, it's Chris. From the menacing vampire bug to a rat that can poison just about anything it touches, here are 10 animals you should absolutely never touch. Number 10. Vampire bugs. This is an insect that you should never touch. However, it might not actually be up to you. I'm talking about vampire bugs, also known as kissing bugs. These blood-sucking insects are typically found in the warm climates of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. But according to the CDC, they're invading the United States of America. As of 2019, the kissing bug has spread to at least 29 states, and this is straight from the CDC themselves. But at this point, you're probably wondering what's the big deal about a kissing bug? It sounds innocent enough, romantic even, right? Oh, so cute, a kissing bug, but no! It actually isn't very innocent at all. The kissing bug got its name because it tends to bite people on their face and particularly around their lips. And they usually do it while you're sleeping. They should be called the no consent bug instead, the creeps. The big issue with these creatures is that they're able to transmit a parasitic disease called Chagas disease, and this can lead to gastrointestinal problems and cardiovascular complications. If you see one of these strange bugs, which kinda look like typical wood-eating beetles you would find in a forest, try not to touch them. You can carry them inside with you, and when you're not looking, they'll suck the blood from your lips and give you diseases. Super gross. Number 9. Puss Moth. The Puss Moth caterpillar looks like something you would want to put in a jar and take home with you. These bugs are fuzzy and something about them just screams to be touched. However, you should seriously think twice before ever touching a Puss Moth caterpillar. They're one of the all-time greatest toxic caterpillars in all of North America. You can find these things all over the southern US, hanging out in the shade of trees, often around homes and schools. Their population peaks in the late spring and the late fall, and you can recognize them because of their long and oddly silky hair. They almost look like tufts of fur. The big danger behind the Puss Moth caterpillar is that if it rubs against your skin, it can embed venomous hairs into your flesh. And when this happens, you'll know pretty much right away. You'll have an intense throbbing pain, serious burning, and probably a rash. It is unlikely that you would die, but anything is possible when you touch the Puss Moth caterpillar, so don't even really think about it. In fact, don't touch any caterpillars at all if you find them outside. My neighbor was pruning some trees and a caterpillar fell into his eye. He was blind in that eye for quite a long time and ended up with permanent damage, so I'm not even really joking here. What about you? Have you touched a caterpillar? Anyone have a bad experience with one? Definitely let me know in the comments below. And if you want to learn about more creepy critters, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos like this. Number 8. The Hooded Pitohui. The Hooded Pitohui is one of the only venomous birds in the world. While there isn't really much chance of you reaching out and accidentally touching any bird, unless maybe it's a chick and you're standing in a chicken pen, it's still worth knowing about this mysterious avian creature. First, they don't live in North America. They live mainly in the rainforests and tropical jungles of New Guinea. So actually, you probably have about zero chance of ever running into one. And that's a good thing too. The Hooded Pitohui is the first ever poisonous bird to be documented officially in any kind of scientific literature. There have been myths in the past about these kinds of birds, but this is the first one that has been documented. Some things to know. The bird is bright and gorgeous. It emits a very strange odor, and it's venomous because of its diet. The bird eats berries and insects, and many of the beetles that it eats are toxic. These toxic beetles then pass their poisonous properties into the bird, which itself becomes a vessel for toxicity. This is definitely not a bird you want pooping on your head. Not that you'd really want any bird pooping on your head, probably. Number 7. African crested rat. I might not need to warn anyone about this next creature, but I'm going to anyways. It's not like anyone is chasing rats down subway tunnels trying to pet them. Rats are arguably the most hated animal in any city on Earth, except maybe cockroaches, and depending on where you live, maybe also raccoons. But there is one type of rat that you really need to stay away from. It's called the African crested rat, and it can poison you. The African crested rat has been discovered to chew the root of a very toxic tree, creating a sort of toxic paste in its mouth. It then takes the lethal mixture and licks its fur to make itself poisonous. According to an in-depth news report from the BBC, any animal that tries to attack the African crested rat is going to get a mouthful of very deadly poison. What's really interesting about this is that never before has this type of behavior been seen in a mammal. A researcher from the University of Oxford has said that this is one of the most extraordinary defenses of any animal living on Earth today. And so the lesson here is to never touch the African crested rat. And if for whatever reason you do, be sure you don't stick your hand in your mouth. Number 6. Macaques. Anyone who has visited Thailand, India, Cambodia, or any of the surrounding countries has probably at least one experience with a macaque. These are arguably the worst monkeys in the entire world. This is especially true in places like India and Thailand, where a constant flow of tourists has provided the monkeys with food and attention. But by absolutely no measure should you ever try and touch one of these savage little beasts. They are the absolute worst, and a single bite from even a small macaque can send you to the hospital needing to get tetanus shots and even rabies shots. A new story out of Thailand shows just how bad these evil little monkeys can be. This ancient Thai city is literally overrun by monkeys, and most of them are whacked out of their minds on sugary junk food. Their population is also growing out of control. Witnesses inside the city claim that the excrement from the monkeys is everywhere, causing an unbearable smell in the wet season when it rains. Plus, the monkey menace is positively fearless, ruling the streets with their hairy monkey paws. And as a foreign tourist, these animals might look cute, but if you were to try and touch one, you might end up with an eye missing, or your phone gone, or with a monkey drinking all of your beer. Number 5. Black widow spider. The black widow spider is not the most dangerous spider in the world, but it's definitely not something you want crawling across your hand. If you live in North America, especially in the northern parts, you don't really have too much to worry about dangerous spiders. The only one around is the black widow, and while its bite is not usually fatal, the pain is not something you probably want to deal with. According to poison.org, the bite from a black widow spider is painful immediately. Not only is there pain, but there's severe pain. Your muscles can cramp, and sometimes you might even need anti-venom so you don't suffer more than necessary. The good news is that the black widow spider is very easy to spot. Even if you're a weirdo who likes going out in the garden and playing with spiders, you should probably be able to identify the black widow immediately by its round abdominal section and the red hourglass markings on its butt. When you see it, do not touch it. Number 4. Moray eels. If you're the kind of adventurous person who likes sticking on a scuba suit and swimming around in the water, you're probably the kind of person who would touch a strange sea animal. While some marine creatures aren't harmful at all, some are better left alone. In particular, the moray eel is something you should not only never touch, but that you should never put your hand anywhere near. These are the largest of the eel species, and they're horrifying. The biggest problem with bumping into a moray eel while scuba diving or snorkeling is that they're basically blind. They aren't very aggressive, but they can't see very well. This means that even if the moray eel doesn't want to attack you, if you put your hand anywhere near this sea serpent's mouth, it's going to bite anyways, and that's one painful bite. You will need to get medical attention very quickly, as the bite from a moray eel can cause a very dangerous infection. According to some people who have been bitten by the fish, the moray eel delivers one of the most painful bites of any fish in the ocean. Experts believe this is because of the pullback pattern, or the way the fish's teeth are arranged inside of its mouth. When it bites, it also rips. The moray eel has a secondary set of jaws, kind of like the monsters from the Alien movies actually. When it bites, you can bet it's gonna hurt. Number 3. Sea urchins. There are species of sea urchins in every ocean on the planet, from the hottest tropical waters to the most frigid Arctic waters. While at first glance an urchin might seem like an inanimate object you could pick up and take home with you, you should by no means ever touch one of these sea creatures. First, they're not inanimate objects. They look like spiky rocks, but sea urchins are living. They eat organic matter on the floor of the sea. They have a mouth at the bottom of their shell, and their anus is at the top of the shell. So if you ever pick up a sea urchin, you might accidentally stick your thumb in its butt. As if you needed another reason not to touch a sea urchin, you could also be stabbed by them. Sea urchins are covered in spines and are sharp enough to penetrate your boots, your wetsuit, and definitely your skin. The spines are made of the same sort of calcium carbonate that makes up eggshells. However, the spines on the sea urchin are hollow, almost like needles. They can easily stick through your skin and cause an aggressive amount of pain. Depending on what type of sea urchin you were silly enough to pick up and how many spines punctured your skin, you could be in for a brief spell of pain, or you could be rolling around on the sand screaming for hours with partial paralysis. Number 2. Sea wasp. Nobody would ever advise anybody to touch a jellyfish. This is especially true if you don't know one jellyfish from another. They're not all dangerous, but the ones that are dangerous are way too dangerous to play around with. The most venomous of all the jellyfish is the box jellyfish, but out of all the various species of box jellyfish, the sea wasp is the worst of them all. The sea wasp has venom so potent and so powerful that in some cases it can kill a human in just 3 minutes. The sea wasp may have a small body, but it has roughly 60 tentacles that reach about 10 feet. Each of the tentacles is covered with unique stinging cells that can zap you multiple times before you even realize what's going on. As a general rule of thumb, keep your hands and feet away from any translucent jelly-like creature that's swimming in the ocean. And if you see a sea wasp, swim away very quickly. Number 1. Tigers. Touching a tiger is not a good idea. Even if you find yourself in some exotic place where they have seemingly docile tigers roaming around that you can touch, you still may want to think twice. While most of the time nothing bad will happen in a tiger sanctuary with trained professionals, every now and again something does go wrong. Just a couple years ago, while on a trip to Thailand, a British university student decided to touch a young tiger at an extremely popular tourist attraction. The tiger that she touched was quite small, but then a giant 400-pound tiger came out of nowhere and bit her on the leg. Workers from the tiger temple quickly jumped in and got between her and the apparently hungry animal, and she was quickly dragged to safety. However, it took over 8 weeks for her to recover from being mauled by the giant cat. Even after returning home to North Yorkshire, the Daily Mail reported that she could still not walk without aid. The doctors said her scars from the incident would likely never heal. The point is that you probably shouldn't touch tigers of any kind in any setting, whether it seems safe or not. Have you ever had a run-in with one of these dangerous creatures? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all the latest videos, and be sure to come back tomorrow. We have lots more where this came from.